It's time for Recipe of the Day. Probably because I'm Canadian, I have gravy on the mind. It is Canadian Thanksgiving this coming weekend, and my favorite part of Thanksgiving dinner is the gravy. Oh, maybe the stuffing with gravy on it. That's what it's all about for me. And so I thought I would tell you today about one of my favorite gravy recipes ever. This is for chicken gravy, and it is a brand new recipe on Cook the Story, but it is not a brand new recipe to me. This is how I have been making chicken gravy for as long as I can remember, and this is also how I make turkey gravy. So that is going to be pretty much the same. You just end up with a larger quantity when you're making turkey gravy, so you need to scale it up. So I have a lot to say, and I'm going to dive right in. You are starting with some chicken drippings. What are drippings? Drippings are what is left in the roasting pan after you cook the chicken or any kind of meat. It includes the melted fat from the meat, any juices from the meat, and even any little bits of meat that have fallen off down into the roasting pan. That is what makes the most delicious start to your gravy, is having good drippings. Although, you know, I've told you before, you can make a delicious gravy without drippings. You just need to know a few things. I will link to my gravy without drippings recipe for you. That is ideal if you've brined your chicken or turkey and the drippings end up really salty and you don't want to use them. Or if you're barbecuing or grilling your roast bird, then you are also going to need something other than drippings to use. So yeah, I'm not going to give the details of the gravy without drippings recipe now. I will link to that, but I will tell you that when you don't have drippings, or if you are trying to make up the amount of your drippings that you need, which is something that you do need to do for this chicken gravy recipe quite often, you need to start with a great broth. And our sponsor, Zoop Good Really Good, has the broth that you need. Zoop broths are crafted with a home cook in mind, and they feature a simmered, all-day homemade taste, perfect for making gravy. They are flavor-forward broths that are kettle-cooked in small batches using the freshest and finest ingredients. Of course, I've already told you Zoop also has a wonderful line of soups, and they have those culinary concentrates, which you can also use to make the drippings for your gravy. So those are great things to consider. I want to tell you that they have a store on Amazon, and I have a coupon code for you for 20% off of your first purchase from that Zoop Amazon store. I will link to the store in the show notes, and I will put the code for you there as well. You get 20% off your first purchase. I cannot wait for you to try these Zoop broths, soups, and concentrates. So perfect as we ramp into, you know, the holiday season and all the beautiful roasts and stews and things like that we have in the fall. These are perfect for that. Now back to that gravy recipe. So I'm going to link to my roast chicken recipe in the show notes for this podcast. I will also link to my turkey recipe. And you will notice that for the chicken one, for sure, I can't remember for the turkey one, maybe for the turkey one as well, you pour some stock or broth into the roasting pan while the chicken cooks. Now, some people worry that that's going to end up steaming the chicken. I think it actually leads to a really nice moist chicken. And then we turn up the heat at the very end and really crisp up the skin. So the skin isn't steamed. It's lovely. What putting that stock in the bottom of the roasting pan does is twofold. It stops the drippings from burning, first of all. So if you've got your oven at 350 and the chicken is a little smaller than your roasting pan, drippings are falling under the chicken onto the pan, they can start to overly brown and burn. This is especially true if not a lot of drippings are coming out of the meat that you're roasting. Like if you're doing a pork loin or something, those drippings are just not going to be able to stay nice and moist without burning onto the bottom of the pan. And when they burn onto the bottom of the pan and then you try to make gravy from them by like adding stock and deglazing and getting them up later, you end up with a burnt or bitter flavor in your gravy. You don't want that. And so I pour that stock in there, then the drippings fall onto the nice wet bottom of the roasting pan, and they don't burn, they just intensify there, right? So you're pouring like about 1/4 of an inch, as much as 1/2 of an inch of stock into the bottom of the roasting pan, and as it's cooking, it's going to evaporate. It's going to take some of the drippings from the meat and it's going to concentrate those, evaporating, and it actually caramelizes along the outside edge of the roasting pan as well, which adds a lot of great flavor. So I keep my eye on that, and if I notice it's starting to brown around that outside because it's evaporated away, then I add in more, and those new drippings come up above that caramelization line and start washing that caramelization into your drippings to have more flavor there. Okay, once your chicken has finished roasting, you transfer that to a cutting board or whatever you're doing with the chicken to rest, and then you need to get the drippings out of that roasting pan. I just use a rubber spatula and scrape all around and on the bottom, trying to loosen up everything. And at that point, I will also often add in some extra stock just to really scrape everything up and make sure I'm getting it all. Then I pour that into a gravy separator. I love my gravy separator. What it does is it's a container, and the fat will rise to the top like it would in any container. But then you have the spout that goes down to the bottom of the container, so it takes from the bottom. The fat rises to the top, and then when you pour, everything just comes from the bottom where the fat is not. So you get nice drippings without fat in them from the bottom. There's even a little plunger in the spout that you put in before you add the drippings to the gravy separator, and that stops anything from entering the spout. So you don't even get fat from the very beginning rising to the top of the spout. The spout is empty, and then it takes just from the bottom. Now, if you don't have a gravy separator, that is fine. I will link to mine in the show notes for this podcast episode, so you can get one if you want to. They're not very expensive. But if you don't have one, or you don't want to get one, you don't want to use one, you can use a regular measuring cup. It has to have at least sort of a 3-4 cup capacity. The fat will rise to the top. We're going to use some of that fat, so you scoop off what you need and what you want to use, then scoop away and discard or freeze the rest of the fat, and then you have your drippings underneath that you can use. Now, for this recipe, we are making 3 cups of gravy, which is a good amount for 6 to 8 people, depending how much they like gravy. So if you've got a big chicken, this is going to be what you do. To make 3 cups of gravy, we essentially need 3 cups of drippings. So once you have removed your fat, or you're looking at the gravy separator, see if you have 3 cups of the liquid underneath the fat. If not, you're going to add chicken stock or broth. You can use the Zoop broth or the culinary concentrate. Add that to your drippings to make up 3 cups. Next, you're going to make a roux. A roux is basically a paste made from a fat, like the chicken fat, or you could use butter. If you don't have enough fat, you can absolutely use butter to make up the difference, and all-purpose flour. Those are whisked together to make a paste. And so you're going to measure 4 tablespoons of your chicken fat, or as much chicken fat as you have, and then butter to make up the difference. To make 4 tablespoons, that needs to be warm and melted if you're doing butter. And then 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Those go into a medium saucepan, and you whisk them up together until they're a nice paste. Now, I don't typically cook that roux for very long. I don't brown it like you do in some kind of like Southern American cooking. I basically just cook it for about a minute while whisking it over medium heat, and then I start adding my liquid. I start adding my drippings. If you want it a darker colored gravy with a little bit of a nutty flavor, you can cook it for longer over medium heat just until it starts to brown. Just note that when you cook your roux in that way, it makes the thickening power of the flour less, so you might have actually wanted to start with a little bit more flour, or I'm going to talk at the end of this about ways that you can thicken your gravy at the end if it's not thick enough for you. So if that happens, don't worry, you'll be fine. Next, you're adding in your drippings. That's the liquid from the gravy separator that's under the fat, or the liquid that remains after you've scooped away the fat. But the thing that can happen is that you get lumps in this mixture as you're adding the liquid. If it's kind of cooking, or you're adding it too fast, or you don't have a way to keep it smooth, I find it easiest to just take my saucepan right off of the heat. This is especially good if you're new to gravy making, new to making sauces like this. It just takes that sort of rushed, scary factor. Things are clumping up. You don't know what's going on. Takes that completely out of the equation. So take your saucepan off of the heat, and then drizzle in 1/4 cup of your drippings while whisking, and you want them to be nice and smooth. You could use white wine for this first 1/4 cup if you wanted to. Once that's nice and smooth, you add another 1/4 cup and whisk until smooth again, and then you just keep repeating that until you've added the full 3 cups. Just note that as you add more liquid, the easier it is to keep it smooth, and it's not likely to clump as much. Then you can add more at a time as you go. Okay, we're almost done. I know this is a long episode, but I'm really passionate about gravy, and I have a lot to say about it. And I promise you, if you do gravy this way, it's going to be the best gravy you've ever made. I'm taking all the guesswork out. out. It just works perfectly every time. Okay, so once you've added those drippings to your roux, you're putting the pan over medium heat and you're going to stir it pretty often until it comes up to a simmer. It can start to clump or burn on the bottom, so that is why you're stirring and maybe even whisking until it comes up to that simmer. Then let it simmer for a moment. That's when it's going to thicken up from the flour cooking. And at this point, I will add in some seasonings except for salt. I always wait to the very end just before serving to add salt to my gravies because as they're like simmering on the stove or even just staying warm, they are evaporating liquid off of them, which is going to concentrate your salt, and then you end up with a salty gravy. So I don't add salt until the very end, and then I add the salt to taste because it's different every time. But at this stage, I would add in about a quarter teaspoon of poultry seasoning and maybe a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of pepper, kind of decide what it needs. You can do some dried thyme, sage, rosemary, any of those are going to work, and taste it and see what it needs, just knowing that you are going to be adding the salt later. At that point, your gravy is done, and so you're just keeping it warm until it's time to serve, and then you add the salt. So that is how you make gravy. I'm just going to tell you a few more things. I have some tips and I have some pointers for what to do if your gravy is not thick enough. So tips. I've already given you most of them. The only ones I haven't mentioned is that you can add the juices that come out of the chicken as it's resting. So while you're making this gravy, your chicken is resting on a plate or a cutting board. So when you're done with the gravy, everything that I've said you've already finished, then you take that plate with the chicken on it and sort of tip it and get the juices from the chicken that have accumulated on the plate into your gravy. And then also when you are carving your chicken on the cutting board, use a rimmed cutting board. Some juices are going to come out of the chicken then as well, and you should definitely add those to your gravy. Also, all of that is flavor. You don't want to miss it. Now, as to making that gravy thicker, there are a few things you can try. So this would happen if for some reason you ended up adding way more broth, or if you did that browning of the roux that I talked about and your gravy just isn't as thick as you would like, then you can simmer it longer to evaporate some of the water away, and that will thicken it. Just be careful because if you had like a saltier broth going on or a lot of salt on the chicken that dripped into your drippings, then you're going to be intensifying that salt. So if you taste it and it's already a little bit on the salty side, you might not want to go with that route. The other thing you can do is mix together a tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of water, or with room temperature chicken broth, stock, anything like that. You just don't want to use anything warm. Whisk that together and then pour that into your gravy. Heat it back up to a simmer and cook it for at least a minute. That'll thicken it. Or get a jar that has a tight fitting lid and add 2 to 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and 1/4 cup to a half cup of water or room temperature stock. Put the lid on, shake it really good until there's no lumps in there, and then you pour that into the gravy and bring that up to a simmer. Cook it for a minute. That'll thicken it. And then last is the beurre manière, kneaded butter. I've told you about this before. You mix together equal amounts of flour and softened butter, 2 tablespoons of each. And once it's a smooth kind of like dough almost, break it into pieces and drop it into the gravy. And then you're going to bring that up to a simmer while you're stirring it and cook it for a minute. I like to do that one if my gravy could use a little bit more richness. I don't want to water it down with the water flour or water cornstarch kind of thing. And so this way you're not watering it down. You're actually adding some richness through the butter. So that is what you do to thicken the gravy if it's not thick enough. Okay, I am going to stop now. I'm sorry I've taken up way more of your time than I usually do, but I hope you learned a lot and I hope you make delicious gravy from this. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there, or find it in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/recipeotd. And hey, just a quick note. I'm on a recording hiatus right now, so for the next little while, I'm replaying episodes from the archives, including this one. If you heard me mention a holiday, a season, or something going on in my life that seemed a bit off, that's why. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you're enjoying these older episodes. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, cookfor2.us, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.